because maybe I'm not the most articulate fella, especially with the written word.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, AT&T Pebble Beach Bets, Picks, Preview, one and done, a recap of the Farmers, some TGL, and a whole lot more in between. So you good people, you smash the like, you sub to the channel, and you use code Mayo at Underdog right now, all right? We are, I think, like 70 signups away from ensuring that we can have a Bash Geoff at Toronto this summer, although it sounds like I've picked a date. June 7th, I think it is, the Saturday of the Canadian Open. So if anyone has a venue out there, I'm searching venues right now. I have a few shortlisted, but if anyone wants to offer up a place where we can have like 150, 200 people, do a live podcast, that would be great, wouldn't it? You could just take an Uber down the road and we could do a live show.
I would like that very much. Those sorts of things. It's like a bit of a litmus test and almost like scary to be like, even put it out there, right? Because like, you're just nervous that like you'll get no response. At least I am.
I was too until I put it in the email. I like to hear from more of you too, be it in the comment section, respond to the newsletter emails that I send out about this stuff. But the amount of people that'd be like, yeah, I'm there. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, no, but you know, like obviously like it's the reason you brought it up, but at the same time, your mind plays tricks on you or on me where I'm like, maybe no one is going to like respond and this is just going to like die and never get spoken about.
Yeah, well, listen, we're going through with it either way. I just need to find the right venue for it, like I said. So if you have any leads on that, you just let me know. MayoMediaInc@gmail.com. You can figure that out. You, sir, said, you know what? If you are not satisfied with a Seb Straka 66-1 winner, let me raise you a Harris English 100-1 winner. Back-to-back, Geoff, they let you get hot. They shouldn't have done that.
Yes. Blind squirrel been nuttin'. But listen, these outright games, I love to play them, but you see how small you are when your friends like Bink GPPs, Patrick. So you were the one here who brought it all home this week, truth be told.
Well,
but I'll take the credit.
If I said if he won that I would learn how to properly pronounce his name, but Potgeiter, had he have won, it would have been the most money I have ever won in a single week with anything. But, you know, just winning a 20 grand GPP, and that's American money too. So that turned out to be like 31,000 Canadian, which is very great. And I hit a 110-1 top 40 parlay as well. I gave that one out in the newsletter. So great week all around. It's just too many people were holding that Aldrich Potgeiter 300-1, 500-1, wherever you got it, that it ensured there was no way it was going to win. Although after the first hole, I got pretty excited.
Yeah. I mean, I was very jealous of everyone. Or like, why didn't you bet it? You could have put $10 on that. Like, what's the matter with you? That's was going through my head. But I'm curious to see where he's going to be priced in the next like goober field.
Mexico.
Like a place like, yeah. I mean, Mexico, he's gonna what do you think he's gonna go off at Mexico, Pat?
Well, you have to remember, what did he end up finishing? Like 28th or something?
It doesn't matter.
No, you see, you say that, but it does matter. It does.
He's got a bit of win equity, and he's shown that's like tough. That what happened. A lot of great golfers got the shit kicked out of them. So I can be an apologist for that happening to the kid in the final group. He hung in there long in some really tough conditions. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be like 28-1 or something, or like Luke Clanton, but I mean, he's gonna be the guy everyone kind of wants to bet at these bomber shitty courses, shitty fields.
Well, there's only so many of them. I really think that depending on how his status ends up looking, right, obviously what happens, most of these guys are not playing this week. They will not be playing at Genesis, which will be at Torrey Pines again in 2 weeks. So we'll see them in Phoenix more than likely, and then Mexico will be the next thing up. So I would guess that like Sam Stevens or Andrew Novak are the guys who are priced at the top of the board.
Scrambling's really hard at Torrey Pines. He's still a pup, and that's a tough thing. And I'm not even talking about the one that got away from him on 3, because that was just such an unfair lie in the bunker on the downhill. I don't even know, like, that would have taken such high level. But it seemed like, Scrambling got to him throughout most of the day. but I want to be an apologist. I didn't have money on him. I'm an apologist for the fact that it was a grind out there, and he ran out of it.
He did, and listen, he got incredibly lucky to be playing in the final group as it was. Like, he jarred it from the middle of the fairway for eagle on Friday. And listen, he puts in the nice run. I've been teaching my kids how to skate because we have this outdoor rink near our house. So I was like, yeah, let's get the kids some skate. Like, do you know how to skate? I would guess that you do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I played hockey growing up. I'm out there. I mean, not whizzing around anymore, but yeah, I know how to skate. Girls are on skates, so yeah, it's a thing to do. Neighborhood rink down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's a weird Canadian thing. Like, I have like 2 or 3 friends who don't know how to skate, and it's really weird. So,
Is Tim one of them?
What's that? No, I mean, I have no idea whether Tim can skate or not. He said that he used to play hockey before I knew him, so I'm assuming he can stand on a pair of skates and get out there and not fall around like my 4-year-old does. But I just think it's an important skill to have, being in Canada at least, just knowing how to skate. Great date opportunity, too, because I did a couple of those before I met my wife, who also can't skate. But in Toronto, in the wintertime, there's like a lot of great outdoor skating things. It's an awesome date.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. No, I excelled at puck until like I'm not, my growth spurt was earlier than like my age group. So there was like a 3-year window where I, was just making teams. And then like skill became a part of it. And I just found my way like not making teams. And was like, you know what? I'm just happy to go hang out. Like 16 now. I don't want to do this anymore.
So I left after the first hole to go do this, and you're saying it was funny because the 3 of us, between me, you, and Paul. Shout out, Paul. Sorry about your bills, but Paul's off to Costa Rica for a week, so I mean that's a nice consolation prize, I suppose, that you get to go enjoy some warm weather, not where it's minus 13 every single day, and that sounds fantastic. He'll be back. He'll have like a nice tan, as much as Paul can tan, and he'll be back there. But he had that big Andrew Novak ticket that I think paid 10 grand. I had the Pot Guider ticket that paid 10 grand, and you had the Harris English one. I don't know what it paid, but it paid a ton. But the 3 of us all had the guys in the final group. This is 2 weeks in a row now that I've had a triple digits dude in the final group, and they've just pissed down their legs. Hoffman went away at 200 to 1, and Pot Guider had basically the worst round of the day after the first hole.
I don't know. A couple wily vets, Sea Island boys, Georgia Bulldogs. Just bringing it home. It felt like everyone was on wobble, like hard wobble Sunday. Like with an English ticket, like if I felt this way about English, like it never felt easy. It was always hard, always wobbling, always felt like on the precipice of bringing it back. Like hitting a fairway, I think he hit like 3 and maybe 1 on the front 9. It was exhausting. But then at the end of the day, I was like, holy shit, if that's how I felt, imagine how like the guys who bet on that guy or that guy or that guy felt. Cause like, I don't know, there was no one being stayed. Maybe Sam Stevens, but he was battling his face off all day as well. I found it highly, highly entertaining. Anytime the score is like that, it just is such a treat, I feel, compared to what we get on the Circus Monday Night Raw schedule. I was fascinated from all the golf once those round 2 conditions came into play.
Yeah. And with English, the thing that separated him, I mean, Stevens went on his run, so I felt so bad for the guy because he was clearly amped up on 18 after making the birdie on 17 to like get himself to this spot. And if he makes birdie, like he probably wins the tournament because he's the one who's playing the best. And it kind of screwed him in a weird way because obviously the wind was in his face, but he just looked so jacked standing on the 18th tee, and he piped it down the middle. That had he not have piped it so much, he probably lays up to a pretty good spot and just has the flick wedge in for birdie, or at least give himself like a 5-footer for birdie to make the playoff or win the tournament, whatever it might be. And he decided like, hey, I'm close enough. I can get there in 2. Like Eagle wins this for me. And I thought he hit it pretty clean. And then you see it go and it's like the wind just kind of stops it a little bit. It's like, oh no, pal. Didn't know you like to get wet.
How confident, I think lots of us watching at home, that 8 would have, like the posting of 8 would have done probably wonders for him. I could respect why he thought he had to do it. He also gas canned that hole on. He double bogeyed 18 on the third round, Pat.
Yeah,
He
from
got
the middle of the fairway too.
yes. So just quite a disaster. But that's another guy like Mexico on my mind.
Oh, for sure. But he was big.
He'll be like 18 or 20 to 1,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Mexico.
he'll be the favorite. I felt bad for Novak, but Novak was just luck boxing everything. That you're like, this guy is. Even Paul was like, this guy is going to run out of steam here, and it's going to go backwards really quickly. And it felt that way off the onset when he doubled number one. Then he goes on the birdie streak. He's making fucking 70 footers, something like that. And he ended up coming in third. It's a nice week for Andrew Novak, but it really felt like kind of what you said, seeing a tournament finish at -8, even if it wasn't the collection of names that everyone wanted to see at the top of the leaderboard, it was gripping because 8-foot par putts were the currency of the day, and Harris English made them all. Like, when you can have a Sunday or a Saturday, a final round this early in the PGA Tour season where guys are sweating 6-footers, and that's the difference, that's a compelling tournament to me.
Yeah. And on those like 7 feet, 8 feet and in, he was putting them like into a thimble in the middle of the cup. He was just so nails. That was clearly the difference maker. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a guy on the radio call, a new guy, like really annoying me. Everything's off site now. Like everything just like lost what used to be great about it. I've never insulted the radio in the how many years have we been doing the show? Ever.
11.
Ever. Never, not one time. I have criticized everything about the PGA Tour. I don't know. As someone that like knew what it was, it's just, I mean, it's better than like not being able to have anything, but it's so inferior to what it used to be. And I don't even put it really on the people making the calls.
What
I put it on the uppers.
I didn't listen to the radio broadcast. What was the difference?
They're just so, I don't know, it's so obvious they're not on site. You can like feel that they're not on site, that they are in this Frisco studio making the calls. Listen, I told myself, Pat, I sent out a public service announcement this morning, maybe 20 minutes before we started recording, that we got to be nicer to the tour. The things we've got to be. It was a good tweet. You wish I would know what I said, but essentially,
I can look it. I can look at it. Don't worry. I have a computer in front of me. I can effort this for you. Would you like me to read what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so Geoff Fienberg on X at gfeinberg17 says, public service announcement for my golf betting bros. Don't be so hard on the PGA Tour when they don't do something up your standard, i.e. course rotation without shot tracker. The NFL literally has 70-year-old men standing 20 yards away from a play telling you where a player was down.
Yeah, and they're the pinnacle. Like, there's no one bigger. They're the giant. And they're making those sorts of mistakes that maybe I got to cut the tour some slack, but they make us jump so hard and dance. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks in that regard, but poor Ludwig, man, your guy. I ended up betting on him too because I was like, yeah, this course is perfect for him. Didn't expect him to be like yakking on the side of the fairway on Friday. That was not good.
No, I mean, you tell me what you think. I've already burned out my word of the day apologist. I'm a Chargers fan. I love Justin Herbert. Okay. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, they lose to Patrick Mahomes. We can't, like, what are we going to do? Like, beat them for that? Like, come on. I'm just an apologist. I'm not as hard on some as I should be. And I'm just a total, like, free pass. Total free pass. The guy they put him waiting to tee off on 13. And that was before it was like a bogey, double bogey run of golf. I said in our group chat, like, did you guys just see him on 13? He looks like he has a concussion waiting to tee off. I don't mean he had a concussion, but I mean, like, when you looked at him, he wasn't fucking there.
Yeah, well, no, when I say that he was yakking off the fairway, I mean he went over off the fairway and threw up a couple times.
And that course in those conditions, playing for that long, like there's a grind, there's a fight, and then there is just like a Humpty Dumpty falls and crumbles. And I'm just an apologist. I don't know. Like, you could put a player X into this situation, maybe outside of Brian Harman, I would be an apologist for. I like him a lot, so maybe it's easier, but I don't hold it. Like, that's a free pass. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember who it was. I think it was BK Kirshner posted a poll. And the last I saw, it was like nearly 50-50 on people who like, no, like you can't hold that on him. And people like, no, fuck that. That was like pathetic. So I guess we're split.
Yeah, he was dealing with an illness. Sometimes that happens. But one of the good things about Ludwig, if you're anti-Ludwig, is that when he gets himself into contention, he's treated like he's Scottie Scheffler on the odds board. And for a guy with one career win, it could be advantageous to look past him on the odds board in play when he's either tied for the lead or even when he was 2 back, he was still the betting favorite because of some of the names that he was around. Like, he gets treated, and he is a superstar. We've seen that. He just doesn't have. It's no different than we talked for like 3 straight years about how Scheffler can't win, but Scheffler was being treated like one of these guys. So whenever he'd get himself into contention, he'd be way up the board. And then you could just kind of like bet whoever else against him and you get great odds on it. Ludwig isn't that part. I'm convinced that when Ludwig gets the big win, they all kind of come. Not to the extent that Scheffler has done it, where he just wins like 8 times a year now, because really no one besides Tiger and Phil and VJ have ever been able to do that. But he'll get his like 2-3 wins a year, almost like Victor. When Victor finally broke through, it's like, oh, now they're starting to come a little bit more frequently. But right now he's being treated, he's a guy who's an insta closer, which he's not.
Yeah, so I like this discussion, and we've kind of seen this before.
Fowler,
I think with
Fowler was the biggest one with this.
Well, you know who, I'll say it in a second, but I actually want to just make this point on Ludwig because I'll get sidetracked, who the king of this was as their game deteriorated, but he was a winner, and when he did it, he ended up winning. It's all like pre-tournament price related. So it's all correlated to the fact the guy went off at 9-1. Like a lot of that, or Scheffler being in these full field events, not winning, going off at like 18-1 every week, or this week, Ludwig being probably around that, clearly around that number. So yeah, I think the better example is like the Rickies. And back in the day, it used to happen. We would comment on it all the time, Pat, with Bubba. He was a guy, it'd be like 66-1 or something. But when he contended, the books treated him like elite Bubba Watson. As for Ludwig, I mean, I'm still in this like bet against him. Like, so I don't think it's going to last long. Sure, you want to play matchups on weekends, whatever, but to doubt what is coming, what he's going to accomplish, like, I don't know. I feel like that seems really silly. Really silly.
Sure, but until you do it, you're the guy who doesn't do it. So there's money to be made in that little interim time in between him actually starting to close.
Yeah, of course. Buddy, Jaden Daniels isn't in a Super Bowl in like 3 years. He's going to be a freaking, what's wrong with him?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking
like win big games.
I was talking to some of my Commanders fans. I was out on Saturday evening. A lot of 40th birthdays this year, Jeff. I mean, you went through this last year, right? With all your buddies turning 40. It's like every 3 weeks someone's turning 40, and you got to go.
We kind of like rein that in. We almost had like in the summertime, like a bunch of guys got together and like threw like a huge banger, which was good. And then, I'm the sort of guy that like wants nothing. Like, I don't want to be celebrated. I like forbid my wife to like do anything.
So
she obeyed.
She obeyed, did she? My 40.
Well, I don't want to be I'm happy to celebrate other things, but I don't want to be celebrated. I just don't.
So I turned 40 in April, but I also have like a few of my friends are also turning 40 in April. Like some of them are in Ontario, some of them are in BC. So what I think have decided to do is just like get together, throw one big joint one, like the Saturday of the Masters or something like that, that weekend, and we'll just kill like 8 people's birthday at once. And like it's tough, like just especially with people with little kids trying to get a babysitter. Like it's tough
hard
to get out like every few weeks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I lived it. I mean, it's nothing like the wedding years of that shit, but it's very annoying.
Weddings,
yeah,
the wedding seasons were easier. 'Cause I think the max I went to like 9 weddings in 1 year, but at least I didn't have kids then. I could get away for the weekend.
Okay, sure, but it's terms of like, oh my god, like here we go again. Where were we?
I wanted to bring this up to you, unless you have anything else to say about Torrey Pines. Every year,
No, can't wait to be there again in a couple weeks. I might just maybe I'll take this week off and I'll put like 2 straight weeks on Ludwig. Like I had like a sense of pride. I think I'm gonna bet him in 2 weeks.
Well, I am interested to see how Scheffler plays at Torrey Pines. And when we get to Pebble in a second with Scheffler returning, I think that's going to be really the talking point of the week. But I'm trying to think of courses. I mean, obviously he wins everywhere. So I guess Augusta National probably sets up the best for him. It just feels like he would be, like he never plays at Torrey Pines. He'd be awesome at Torrey Pines. Like that's his game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously we want to see where that's at. And this could be like the tune-up for that. And the thing with Torrey Pines is my betting card is usually of like the strict player profile. And I know the field was weak, but you always, there's always like that Snedeker, that like Wes Bryan type who does just loiter there.
There was a point on Saturday where Snedeker was still there before like he kind of fell off the face of the earth. I was like, oh my God, he's going to do this again. The first 2 giant golf bets I ever lost that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to win so much money. One was Robert Garrigus at St. Jude when he sweat through his pants and made a triple bogey on the final hole, then lost in a playoff to like Harrison Frazier and Lee Westwood in Memphis. That was no fun because it was like the first time I ever had like a 150-1 guy who was going to win. I was counting my money and then boop, it all went away. The other one, I had Kyle Stanley at Farmers when Snedeker won the first time, and he made a triple on the final hole, but just sucking it back into the water over and over with a wedge. He went on to win the next week in Phoenix, but just Snedeker being Johnny on the spot to be there, post a decent score, basically doing the Harris English blueprint that you just talked about. Hit his wedges really well, made his 8-foot putts, moved on. And when he won the second time at Farmers, it was that stupid one where he posted on Sunday, they canceled the rest of the event, and then they made them go play in like awful weather on Monday, and Jimmy Walker melted away like an 8-stroke lead, and he never showed up on Monday. He was already done.
Yeah, that was a memory. KJ Choi as well, I think, was out there with Jimmy.
Scott Brown was out there too. I remember. I think.
Would you call the Leishman win?
I think he shot 89 in the final round. Scott Brown.
Do you think the Leishman win felt a lot like the English win of this past week? Like it's just sort of hacking it around, but hit like everything sort of in there.
Yes and no. It's not even that he was hacking it around. It's just Leishman in the final round, his drives were so wayward that it actually got him into better positioning. Because it's not like he was missing the fairway by a yard. He was missing the fairway by 20 yards and then hitting it into like the trampled off spectator area. So the rough wasn't all that bad where he was at. And then he just hit every green in regulation and made his putts. So it was somewhat reminiscent of that. It's just every once in a while, you're right. You see the Harris English profile end up winning at Torrey Pines. But you look at the rest of the leaderboard, like, bombers, man. Like when I hit that top 40 parlay, like they were just 4 goobers who hit the ball a ton and they all ended up inside the top 40, except for Whiting. He missed it, but you Trixie that shit together and you're good to go.
I guess before we're done, like maybe we're being too easy on,
it's coming.
Not being hard enough on Ludwig.
I mean, I don't have the expectation for him that you do, so I don't think you need to be. All that, I mean, you could say the same thing about Morikawa has 2 major championships, but like he hasn't won now in like over a year, and he continues to gag away tournaments he should be in. It's hard to win, and winning's a skill, especially when the same guys keep winning. But I will blame this one on the sickness. Like he was legitimately ill, and that's why we saw so many guys. I mean, there was a weather component of it, guys being out of it. But there's also a reason that so many guys pulled out in tournament too. Apparently, there was just a bug going around Torrey Pines.
On that note, because you mentioned it's hard to win, and I think I like a lot of players there, but I think in like totality, LIV fucking sucks. That being said, it is incredible that more guys haven't gone, because you just said it's so hard to win. think of the guys that haven't won for quite a period of time. Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, like the money that you get on LIV. Do you know how hard it is to make that money by winning golf tournaments on the PGA Tour? Because winning is so fucking hard.
Well, there's
like in some ways we are so lucky. I don't know. This might sound stupid, man. I'm such a fucking softie today. We are so lucky that I don't know. So many guys like held the line. For as many that left, like so many held the line. Everyone really should have gone. Winning is so fucking hard. And you get paid to win. And sure, 8th place, 4th place pays a lot of money. But what they offered to like doesn't matter if you win. When winning is so fucking hard, it's actually crazy how many guys stayed.
Yes and no. I do think that there's a component that there's guys that just simply, especially American players, do not want to play a worldwide tour. Like Bryson's in India this week.
Yep, you're not. Yeah, they're part of some Indian Super Series. A bunch of them are over there. On this note, not our group DM, Pat. Personal correspondence from Tim, 9:20 a.m. Don't forget to discuss LIV Night Golf. It's the biggest change to golf since the FedEx Cup. I mean, LIV is the.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't LIV the answer to this?
Like, LIV is the biggest change in golf since the FedEx Cup, not the LIV playing a night thing, which I think is awesome. Give them their flowers. That's a great, with how that's going to work for time zones.
Yes. That's why it's done. It's done for the time zones because they, listen, LIV can barely compete anyway, and this being the first broadcast that they'll have on Fox, I believe it's next week. Fox has the Super Bowl as well, so they can put some stuff. Tim made a bet with me. Isn't that shocking? Like an actual money bet that I said that
yes.
that LIV on any of its days would not have a higher viewership than week 1 of TGL.
That'll be tough. A Saturday night. I don't know like how well golf will draw on TV, but
I think it's a fair barometer. I think it's 919,000 viewers TGL got week 1. That was the average, so we're going to take the average.
It is Fox. Yeah.
It is Fox. Listen, but I mean, what's Torrey Pines going to do? Like when we look at the ratings from Saturday, 2 million?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not you're not wrong in that respect. I think there's just a lot of people knowing about it is one thing. I think it's cool and it'll visually look like it'll be visually stimulating and different to see it at night. And that'll be really cool. And that's a draw. And I think that's awesome. So I'm fascinated. I'm excited about that. I think that's the event I feel Brooks always wins.
I don't know if they always win anything. There's been 2 years of LIV, 3 years.
Yeah, I think
of
he's won that event. One event that I don't know. I just have this memory. It's been 10 of him getting going in Riyadh, but I don't know. That could be a blur. I could be full of shit.
Yeah, I will be tuning in. I'm going to detrimentally impact my own wager here by tuning in probably to at least some of the days of what's going on. Did they promote it at all during the Eagles and Commanders game on Fox? Because they didn't, they kind of need that promotion because most people don't A, know that LIV has a deal with Fox, and B, that it starts next week.
Yeah, I don't believe they did. I didn't see it. If they did, I didn't see it. Maybe I was with some friends, but I feel like someone might have caught that.
Worth noting, TGL begins Monday night this week. It's Rory's hometown team, the Boston Common, for Rory taking on Tiger's Jupiter Lynx. Minus 188 is the spread right now for money line on the Boston Common, but I actually made 2 wagers. I put them out on Twitter already if people are looking for it. The first one's kind of wonky, but I really like this other one. It's boosted right now in different places if you can find the markets for it. But I have the Boston Common to win the first hole, plus 260, and I just have Boston Common to be leading after 6 holes at plus 120. I think that's the way you want to play it, because as we've seen, the teams that win on TGL just start winning from the onset. It's not even close based on what we've seen so far. And this Jupiter team is way worse than all the other teams.
Listen, as a hardcore fan of the Bay, I wanted Ludwig to withdraw so he could like not negatively impact the Bay season. I don't have a like I'm
But doesn't that make sense? Like, if you're
yes,
gonna be,
everything you said makes sense. There's betting opportunities. Right now I'm still just 1-0 because I just don't know, man. It doesn't I tried. It doesn't do it for me. It just maybe I'm being unfair. Like there's moments where it's popcorn, but I don't know. I'm just not like I don't give a shit. I want to give a shit, but I don't.
I find it's great background fodder. Like, I just have it on for the hour. I'm doing my work, just checking in and see what's going on. But yeah, I'm with you on that front. Like, it's not must see TV by any means.
And I saw Sportsnet was airing replays of it on
All
the
week,
weekend.
all week. Sportsnet's just like, let's go TGL. Let's pump this out. But if it's a way to listen, I don't care if I have to watch or not. I mean, I have to actively promote it. They're paying me to do that. But in terms of like winning bets, if it's a market I can beat, which so far I have been able to beat, that comes very few and far between for me, Geoff, having a market where I feel like I have an advantage in. And so far, TGL has been a printing press.
Okay, yeah, of course. They don't really I could see how that makes sense. There's a lot of unknowns, which now you can use some of like your perceived knowledge and take advantage of that. That's absolutely right.
Okay, the next time I lose a TGL bet, Geoff, it'll be the first.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of ways. I just I don't know. It's Rory versus Tiger.
Yeah, it's Rory versus Tiger.
I mean that's and what do we think that number's going to be?
Higher. Well, I mean, it did very poorly in week 3. So I guess Tambo won the bet that I made with him. I said 700,000. I think it came in like 688 or something like that. But I think that this week it'll be back up to what we saw week 2, week 1, just Rory versus Tiger. Although so much of the shine is off of it now that maybe the people who were somewhat intrigued the first 2 weeks are just like, they're like you, they're out.
I mean, Rory versus Tiger is like the thing. But I don't know. Like, honestly, I think the Rory aspect's maybe a bit overrated. Like it's Tiger.
It is Tiger, but you put Tiger up against Patrick Cantlay. That's like, okay, I'm going to tune in for Tiger. At least Tiger versus Rory. Like, people know Rory.
Golf isn't, yeah, I guess, but it goes back to like all the, the hooting and hollering and the complaining. Like golf, like it's just Tiger. Like Tiger created this thing, and no one else is worthy or can live up to it. So now they're in this like weird spot of trying to keep up, but it's over. I don't mean like golf's over. Like there's still a hardened, hardcore, loyal audience, and the sport is very popular, and that will always grow interest in the professional game. But I don't know. I just feel I gotta like totally stop like thinking they're capable of more, I guess.
So this
like a presentation or a broadcast or any of that stuff.
I mean, that's the answer to all of these questions. Just put on a better broadcast, more people will watch. Simple as that. Doesn't matter who's playing. Because that's a big drawback for a lot of people trying to watch it right now. I assume you saw the Kyle Porter tweet from the weekend that picked up a lot of traction.
Yeah, the one that got like Andrew Novak, but for me it was the Dottie Pepper comments in the broadcast that I feel should be getting the most traction.
All right, well, you start with that, and I'll bring up the tweet and I'll read it out because I have some thoughts on it as well. What did Dottie Pepper say?
So Dottie Pepper pretty much called out everybody on the broadcast on CBS on Saturday. And the booth agreed with her and they just moved on. They didn't dwell on it, but she pretty much said there is a respect issue on tour. Respect for fellow player, respect for fan, respect for broadcast partners, and something needs to be done.
She offered up no solutions to that.
They didn't dwell on it. They didn't dwell on it. Everyone just said they agreed and they moved on. This was in the context of the booth had just mentioned how long they'd been playing golf for. So I guess that's important context. They mentioned how long this round had been. They think they were still just on 12 or 13. And Dottie on CBS called out called out the players for having no respect for each other, the fans, or the broadcast, not the broadcasters. The partnership between the tour and its broadcast partners. To be able to air it in not an 8 hour, to want to be able to show all the golf or as much golf as possible, but like give them a break here, if that makes any sense.
Of course. I mean, making it a bit more snappy would be huge, but here's what Kyle Porter put out. He said that the PGA Tour has a lot of problems right now. Foremost among them might be that there's a lot more fun and entertaining to watch your favorite YouTubers play fascinating courses for 40 minutes than it is to watch Andrew Novak and Sam Stevens duke it out at Torrey for 400 minutes. I wildly disagree with this, by the way.
Disagree.
Listen, you can watch guys, you can watch Bryson on YouTube, whoever your favorite YouTube golfer is, in 40 minutes. That's fine. I've watched a few myself. I enjoy it. But it's not the same thing. Like, it's not the same audience, for one thing. Just because, there's no one out there who's like, hey, I love watching the PGA Tour, but I can't watch it anymore because I'm watching Grant Horvath on YouTube. Like, that person doesn't exist.
100%. Now, when I call like PGA tournaments unserious, or there's like a high level of unserious tournaments, that is more related to how the PGA kind of treats itself, and how they treat itself. What is never unserious are the stakes at play and the life-changing opportunities at play every single weekend on the PGA Tour. There's nothing unserious about that. So I get it, because maybe I'm not the most articulate fella, especially with the written word, that people can take when I am tweeting that this is not serious, just in terms of the presentation of the product. That does not diminish the stakes that are happening and how enthralling it can be for us golf fans to watch the bottom half fight for their place in the upper crust. And I totally disagree with Porter. I don't even, that's a really weird tweet. We're all competing, Pat. It's so fucked up. It's so weird because, as kids, we had to just watch what the TV gave us. But literally right now, I don't want this to be like a reason for someone to change the show. I think they're not changing the show. I think they all know they could watch The Sopranos instead of this. My point being is we are all competing. If you make content, you're competing with the greatest content ever made because it's all available at everyone's fingertips at all times. At all times. So it's the concept of that is so fucked up.
I think it works both ways. I think the more popular YouTube golf gets and getting people interested in watching rounds of golf, I think that will more, like I said, it's a different audience. It's a different demo. It's a much younger demo watching online videos of stuff. If you can transition them over to the PGA, yeah, it's a different product, but it's real stakes, like you said. You don't have that with YouTube golf. It's fun to watch YouTube golf. It's entertaining. It's short. It's quick. It's edited. It's snappy. This is a completely different beast. The biggest problem that the PGA has, I mean, the broadcast sucks. That could be better. There's a lot of things that suck about it. It's that they're now paying the players so much, they're paying them too much money. Is the problem. To compete with LIV, they over-invested in this product, and they're not going to draw the ratings. But the ratings are whatever. Who cares? It's not like golf was man, it was the NFL and golf, and then somehow golf fell off a cliff. It's never been like that. People talk about that the only tournaments that matter are the majors. Well, newsflash, the only fucking tournaments that ever mattered were the majors. To the casual audience in terms of ratings, and they still matter. No one was tuning into Torrey Pines being oh man, we need 10 million people to watch this. It was never happening. Yeah, they're lower than they used to be, but every sport is lower than they used to be. That's just how the world works now.
Those are some great points. And when I was saying before, talking about Tiger, that's all it was. It was Tiger and the majors. It was Tiger and the majors, and nothing else was important. And everything other than that felt unserious in some way to the casual sport fan, right? Tiger and majors. And now it's just majors. That's it. I mean, we're not going anywhere, but that's just the reality of where the game is for that casual sports
But
fan.
it's a bad faith argument. You bring it up right now. It's Tiger. Tiger was the needle mover. So if you're trying to compare the ratings that you got when Tiger was contending in tournaments, you aren't doing yourself a decent service of anything trying to chase those numbers because they ain't happening. It's like when Caitlin Clark retires and the WNBA is sitting there being like, man, why aren't our ratings as high as they used to be?
I mean, like you said, it is that fine line, and the YouTube, it's interesting. Like those guys, it's fascinating, and the golf ecosystem is so big that it all lives. It all lives. It's like the betting ecosystem, like just in terms of how big, from like your hardened pro projection modeler to the dude just casual. Like it's just so large. The tent in which golf is under is just enormous. It's enormous.
Independent creators are doing great numbers right now, ourselves included with that. That's fantastic news. That's great for the ecosystem. But we're doing something completely different than what guys who are actually playing on YouTube are doing. You see, Rick Shields went to LIV, signed a deal with LIV.
Yeah, that had like Sam Altman vibes.
Yeah, take the bag, man. Go ahead, go for it. Like,
take the bag. Do what you got to do.
But
just see,
there's one bit people can point to. It's like, well, I don't like golf anymore because LIV went away, and all the good names are over on LIV. Like Bryson is one name. You really think if we had put Brooks and Poulter and Phil in this tournament on the weekend, that the ratings would have doubled? No chance. They'd be equally as down. They were down before these guys left anyway. Like that's not the argument. Bryson, it's not necessarily what the PGA Tour is missing, but he's the draw in golf right now. And you have to tune in to Golf Channel at 3 a.m. to watch him play in India. Like that sucks. But even if Bryson was there, even if Bryson was in the tournament this weekend, that it's not the Tiger effect. It's probably more than anyone else would have. Like we talk about the Spieth effect for American audiences. Because someone pushed back to me. It's like, well, Rory is a bigger draw than Spieth. Not in America, he's not. Spieth is a bigger draw than Rory is in America in terms of impact on ratings. But I want the ratings to be higher because I like golf. And the higher the ratings are, the more money there is and the better everything is. And people stop complaining. And I don't want to have to dwell on this every single week, but I don't really fucking care what the ratings are. I just want golf to be good. And I enjoyed the tournament this weekend.
I also think it's a little like, don't get me wrong, I complain about a lot of things that people are probably like, why are you complaining about that? That is so like, doesn't matter. That's so irrelevant. I think you're lost in the forest, pal. People complaining about golf's ratings. Well, football is still happening. Even if it's not on the same day to me is like really a bit wild. It's wild. The tour and pro golf can always like save itself with a great spring and like their moments in summer. Like it's always salvageable. Whatever happens now is still always salvageable. But like looking at the ratings in an event Seb Straka won in a runaway, like during football season, it's crazy. You gotta be that's a little like, I don't really understand what the point of that is. But the PGA Tour, they have a problem in that, like, yes, they run a lot of events, and these events are so important to, like, local communities for which they run. And the PGA Tour cannot designate events as, like, less important. Like, they can elevate, but they are not, like, they can't be like, guys, just so you know, it's like practically a minor league event. Like, you don't have to watch. Like, no, they're not going to disrespect the local community, and they're not going to disrespect the sponsors. But what we've seen is a lot of blue blood sponsors just abandon the tour because they're like, they don't feel like anything's worth it anymore. And we're seeing a lot of like, I don't know, like random weird sponsorships come up. And that's probably going to be happening more in the next couple years.
I talked about this for a while, but I'm shocked none of the gambling sites have sponsored a tournament yet.
Crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe with how they spend money, that must show you how bad of a deal it must actually be. Like the people that throw more money away than anybody are like, you know what? We're willing to throw our money at anything. But this, no, not that. Even that's a bridge too far for us. So to me, that's more of an indictment on the tour than the gambling side. Because we know how quick they are to pony up for anything that they think will get them some like visibility.
All right, before we get to Pebble, Jared wanted to chime in with a question, which I thought was pretty good. Hit it.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you, like, Mr. Beast does those Mr. Beast games now on Amazon Prime. If Grant Horvath has 2 million followers and Bryson has 4 million subs and Phil and Bob Does Sports and whoever, it would get to a point where you could have a big enough prize pool where there are legitimate stakes, and then the following of those people would tune in to root for their guys. And you brought up the point that, well, Bryson would just crush them all. Well, you could also play with handicaps, and it would be a totally different vibe, but there would be legitimate stakes, and it would have a massive following based on the subs and the views.
Okay, so I think you're right, but I think it only works by, if you wanted to do that to replace the stupid matches that they do, I think that would be a real thing, as like a one-off type thing. But are you talking about creating a tour that has handicaps? Because the big difference between all those guys and the PGA Tour and majors is the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, LIV, whatever it might be, and this is where LIV suffers as well, is that you want the best people in the world playing against everything. Like, there's a reason that the XFL doesn't do big ratings. You're not seeing the best players play against each other. Same reason the CFL in football. Football's king, yet all these other football leagues can't do shit in terms of ratings. I mean, they do actually pretty well, like comparatively to other sports, but you're not seeing the best play the best. So if you had a one-off, and like that's the problem with the matches, right, Jeff? That like even when it's Rory and Scottie against Bryson and Brooks, there's no stakes to it. So there might be more stakes in like some of the YouTube guys playing some of the top guys, but if it's a handicap match, you'd get a ton of viewership. But viewership isn't everything. Like sponsorship, selling, like the whole reason that the PGA Tour exists is to sell golf clubs, really, isn't it?
It does, but that's the funny point we've been making for years is that those Grant Horvath can sell more merch than anyone but like 3 guys in golf. And
Sure.
you could say, I've said that, and you could say about a lot of content creators. Like Patrick Cantley is not selling fucking equipment. I don't mean he's not pushing it in commercials. I mean, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. But Grant Horvath or any of these content creators or me shooting 92, trying to break 90, like I would want to, like, I'm more likely to get with that guy than anyone on the pro level. So golf is crazy, and the brands, the equipment manufacturers have caught on to that in a big effing way. In a big way.
Sure, but but you're not selling insurance, retirement packages, dick pills, heart medication. Like that's people forget like these 4 to 6 hour broadcasts are, why do you think there's so many commercials? This is where they're making their money. Like,
well, isn't that where the broadcasters making their money back for the rights fees? I mean,
yes.
Maybe I'm naive.
Yeah, it is, but like that's where the money is being generated from for all this stuff. You put that on YouTube, it's a younger demo, and you're not selling those things. It's a completely different subset of people.
Yes.
You need, and it's good. You can bring in new things, but I think in terms of yes, it could.
It's kind of like Pat.
It could be popular, but you're not. It could be popular. You could get a lot of views, but again, it's not the same audience. It's not the same stakes, and you're not running it 42 weeks a year.
Yeah, it's like the hotel. They'd rather like accommodate like the one guy who's going to buy like the ultra luxury items than accommodate like 30 goober customers. Like that's just, I don't know. That's obviously there's math behind that.
It's no different than sportsbooks. Sportsbooks want you to play at their sportsbook. And what they're looking for is some guy who likes to bet on sports, but actually wants to play online slots. If they can find one of 1,000 of those guys who will upgrade to iCasino and play, that's more valuable than the other 999 combined.
It's one thing. I never even gone in those places. Like,
Neither
never.
have I.
I got like free bonuses from. I don't even touch it. I don't know. It looks Chinese to me, online casinos.
Like you just don't read it. Like it's just like it's a foreign.
No,
thing.
like I see my buddy shows because my buddy's having a baby. He's in the waiting room. Like he's playing those slots, and it's these like new crazy slots. I only know slots with like 3 things on the screen. Like now these new games, they look Chinese. I've never played them. I don't know.
I'm not
lose my mind.
Not a big slot guy anyway. But Jared, yeah.
Yeah, just push back for a second.
Yeah.
The best on best thing obviously is a good point. It's like Tiger was on Grant Horvath's channel. How many did you say views Pebble Beach got?
I have no idea. It's the ratings aren't out for it yet.
Fair. That one got 1.8 million views.
Sure, but those are different views, though.
100%. But like you said, a different demographic. Is that not the... That's not the worst thing in the world for golf to get
No,
younger people.
and that's why I'm saying that the broadcast and YouTube can operate independently, and I think the growth of one is good for the other. I don't think that people who would sit down to watch the final round at Torrey Pines aren't like, I'm never watching YouTube golf. But if they do watch YouTube golf, I don't think those same people are like, I'm never watching a golf broadcast again. If both things, like if one is popular, the other one is I've always talked about this within like the gambling space that we do, like our small DFS gambling content industry. The industry getting bigger is good for everyone. So that therefore we're not really in competition. Yeah. Like if I am fighting you or if I'm fighting Rick for views, for example, that if Rick does better, I do better. If I do better, Rick does better and everyone else. Fantasy Golf Degenerates runs on the same network. Technically, we are competing shows with Byron and Kenny, but if I do well, they do well. If they do better, I do better. And that's the way that they need to look at it rather than think that everyone is just in direct competition. LIV is the competition of the PGA Tour, not any of this other stuff.
I would agree with that. I would also come in to point out always that if like top heavy, because when I say a LIV field is stacked, there's a lot of like nuance, but like top stacked fields, like a LIV event potentially, or a FedEx Cup event, if that's what people wanted, those would be good entities. And they both suck. No one gives a shit. So it's more than just like the best. I think the presentation also really matters. It's really a twofold problem for the PGA Tour right now.
All right. Good question, Jared. I kind of agree with you. Like there is something there, but I don't think it's sustainable. It's like
aren't they trying to leech onto this because they did like a Creator Classic golf tournament, and that's going to be they're doing more of them this year, maybe more than one. Like it was for the PGA, it was a big hit. Obviously, got a lot of views, and they're going to keep pumping those out. So that's like an entry level thing to what Jared's like. The PGA's trying to latch on to those guys.
Yeah, and working in combination with them, I think makes a lot more sense than treating them like an enemy. Because the rising tide's going to lift all the boats with this one. Like get people, and more people are playing golf than ever now too. Like,
so that's like part of the Rick Shields thing. Like he's and lives like, you know what? Now you're going to be our brand ambassador. You're probably going to do like on-course interviews. Right? Like, that'd be no different than Grant Horvath signing with the PGA Tour or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's exactly the same thing. But there's a reason that when LIV started, what did they do? Like, they have the most money in the world. They want to create some sort of business. Maybe they're really bad at business, and it's a terrible idea. And maybe it was. But they have this unlimited fund. I mean, instead of spending $40 billion to create a golf league, which they hope will imprint and be able to buy the PGA Tour down the line is what they want to do, why didn't they just create a YouTube channel?
I mean, yeah, that's... I mean, on that note, like I'm naive enough to assume LIV is attempting to get peace, and that's why they probably didn't do more signings. Because as I mentioned, the amount of guys who just don't win golf tournaments, who LIV would still pay a fortune to, you'd think they could probably still get some guys. So when you go from like your big acquisition this year is Rick Shields, it's low-hanging fruit for me to think like, okay, well, what's that mean for your arrow? Last summer was John Rahm in the Letterman jacket. Last offseason. Now it's Rick Shields. Tom McKinnon? Is that even official yet? Am I supposed to care?
McKibbin. Welcome to the TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp. It's electric. How is it sharp? How is it electric? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime, forcing playoffs on the line golf with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. This Monday, Jupiter Links Golf Club versus Boston Common Golf. Tiger Woods, Kevin Kisner, and Tom Kim taking on Rory McIlroy, Keegan Bradley, and Adam Scott. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game because you'll want to bet against the Jupiter Links. Tune in each week for TGL only on ESPN. Keep up. It's golf. Pebble Beach AT&T Pro-Am. It is still a Pro-Am despite being a signature event. There are only 80 players in the field. There is no cut line at this event. And I think this is the only tournament all year long, Jeff, that has been saved by becoming a signature event. Putting the best players at Pebble Beach every single year and getting rid of like the Saturday terrible celebrity slow motion Larry the Cable Guy swinging is just such a big win, and it got screwed up last year because they had mudslides at the course and it was only 54 holes. This year they get a redo, and I think that this is the perfect time. Football is technically over. There's the Super Bowl left. There was no football this week. This is an opportunity to clear the lane, put your best foot forward. It's unfortunate Tiger isn't playing in this one.
You laid it out. They don't make many great decisions, but this seems to be a great one that would be putting more air in if we had the opportunity to get the full experience last year. I am, like leading into before Christmas Day or like for many months, maybe they still are, but like making fun of the NBA was the most like in vogue thing to do on Twitter. I mean, I even took a shot at it and I don't even care or pay attention. It's just such low hanging fruit. And then on Christmas Day, like clearly the NBA players who played on Christmas Day got the memo. And apparently it was like an incredible day of basketball for them that they're very proud of. And everyone like showed up and it was like the opposite of what like the first 4 months of the season had been, or a couple months. I am hoping in some ways like that's what we're going to get now from the PGA Tour. Like the players have heard the noise. Now it's just going to be awesome, but that's a pipe dream. But yeah, great players on Pebble, great TV, good scenery. Time for me to lose a bet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're too hot. I'd like to hit an outright winner. That would be nice. And we'll see what one of my losers can get to the final group and shoot an 82 on Sunday this time around. But the big news is Scottie Scheffler is back. Scottie Scheffler is the betting favorite of this tournament. He opened, I saw at DraftKings, he had opened on, because they put out their lines on Sunday. He was like plus 320, which I thought was a bit steep. He's now like 4.5 to 1, 5 to 1, which is a bit more respectable. But this could either be the worst thing in the world or a great opportunity in the regard that I don't know where he's at right now. I mean, he cut his hand. Golf, especially with Scottie Scheffler, he's an all-hands type player that if he's affected at all, we're getting, I don't want to say good odds on the people down the board because we're not, but we're getting more generous odds that we wouldn't normally get because Scheffler is here sucking up so much of the oxygen at the top that if you don't think that he is ready to play and he's just kind of getting out there, this is a warm-up round, it could be a kind of valuable week.
So I wouldn't bet him even if he was hot. I mean, he's not going to get hotter than last year, and I didn't bet him. So I'm not going to learn that lesson if it happens again. But I have to believe after like a 7-win season, like he is now in the point where all that matters is majors. So he plays golf in February, January to be ready to win majors. So I think it has maybe like he's so good it might not matter. He didn't play the Century. A lot of top guys didn't play great there. Like there's still he missed the hit and giggle part of a circuit. I feel like there's got to be some element of cobwebs. Obviously he can overcome that. He could be 7 back on Sunday and then shake the cobwebs and win. We see him do that. But I mean it's a total fade. The bigger question for me, Pat, is it a bigger fade of like the top entirely on a Pebble Beach that like might neutralize certain skill set, or am I still like wanting to play some high end golfers?
Well, we can discuss that once we get down the board a little bit. The other big thing, Spieth is back too. Spieth playing next week as well in Phoenix. And he's in on a sponsor's exemption because he did not qualify for these signature events because he wasn't inside the top 50, had off-season wrist surgery. So he and Ricky are both in on sponsors exemptions. Here's a quick spoiler alert. They will get as many sponsors exemptions into these signature events as they are willing to give out. As they're allowed to give out, those two will always be in the field.
So they are a disaster. What Ricky and Spieth now are to the common man PGA Tour lower back half player, they are essentially like when the 1 seed in a NCAA basketball conference tournament loses in the conference tournament. They're still getting in the tournament. But now an at-large bid is gone. Or sorry, Yeah, and that large bid is gone because now they have to eat that because someone else took the auto bid from the conference tournament. It's bad news. There's like a segment of the tour that this is just disaster for, but the tour's lifeblood is everything we spoke about earlier. So there's just no way. There's no way around it. It's actually yeah. I mean, Jordan, you get Ricky. Obviously, I love. He's a lovely chap, but he's so boring. Like I don't know. The colors did wonders for that guy because from a personality perspective, he really is so like protected and boring. There, I said it. Good luck. I'm not touching Jordan Spieth. I expect to see him in the featured groups.
And I always like watching Jordan Spieth, whether it's a hate watch, whether it's a like watch, and I always like him this is the tournament where he almost fell off the cliff.
Yeah, it's the best, and the tour knows like we're suckers for that. So nothing goes more viral than like Jordan and Greller going at it when it works out great or when it goes horrible. Like it's entertaining on both spectrums. So that's the stuff we like.
Spieth is 60-1 to win this tournament, coming off of wrist surgery, hasn't played in like 7 months. Probably not going to bet that one. I've seen Scottie is now up to as high as 525 if you want to do it. So I think a lot of people are in the same mindset as us. Like maybe if he's like 25-1, 6 back on Sunday, maybe take that chance after I've got to see him a little bit. But as the overwhelming favorite in the field of all the best players, I probably don't want to take the guy coming off of hand surgery.
Yeah. I mean, it's just red ink. It's red ink for me. We'll feel stupid, but it's how we'll start.
So top odds after him on the board, we got some names. Rory is 13-1, Morikawa 15, JT and Ludwig are both 17, Cantlay is 19, and that is sort of the group. After that, it's like Hideki at 27 and 28, Sungjae at 30, Day at 35, Burns at 35. Your boy Tommy playing for the first time this year, he's 35. And then there's a big drop-off to the 50-1 range. So we can talk about this group of guys. There are 3 in here I like. I bet one of them, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with the rest. I bet Jason Day at 35-1.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. He is playing lovely, and oh my God, that sweater high crown combo on the weekend, like that's the shit that melts me. That sweater fucked, and I'm always susceptible to falling.
Jason
for the
Day
high crown.
is hitting the golf course like he is a big fat rapper from 1998.
Oh my God, he rocked sweats. I am like, this is that's the shit. Cause I'll go track down like the golf sweatpants, and then I'll like go clear them through my head of golf. You know, like look at these documented images of Jason Day, and then we'll see where that goes. But he is bringing comfy casual to the golf course, so good on you, Jason. Good on you, bud. 35-1 seems fair. Playing great. Was my one and done last week. Obviously didn't work out too well.
No, do you know why it didn't work out too well? I can tell you why. He lost 6 strokes putting in his 3 rounds at the South Course. And he's lost strokes putting in each of the first 3 tournaments so far this year. But he is striking the ball incredibly well. Like his irons, for at least the moment, are back. He's gained around the greens. He's gained on approach. And off the tee is going to be far less here. But he's gained even in the past, too. He just can't drain a putt right now. But you go take a look. I mean, Jason Day has won this tournament before. He was 6th a year ago in the shortened event. And even to go back over time, like 7th, 4th, 2nd, 1st, 5th, 4th, 6th, 1st. Like, it's just, this is a course where he excels at. Maybe he hasn't won this. Is this like maybe he didn't win it? I thought he did. Now I have to go.
I don't think so.
He's up there. Maybe top 5 is the bet for Jason Day, but at 35-1 coming in with good form right now. How many chances are you going to get to bet Jason Day with form at a tournament that he historically plays really well in? And he's lost strokes on the green at Pebble Beach like once in 13 years or something. So if he can bring the putter, if he can find his putter like he normally does at this course and bring the rest of his game with him, I think he's going to win.
I like it. Yeah, I'm staring at the 35. Seems to be pretty consensus. At the top, I will say I have a Justin Thomas next week for 25-1 that I really like and I'm excited about. I've had it for a while. I guess because DK has like a casino on property there that they they actually post waste odds up and leave them for a while. And part of me, I feel like that win is coming for him, but I'm not touching it this week. He just better not pop. The player under 30 to 1 that has my attention, it's kind of embarrassing.
It's Patrick
At
Cantlay.
least one of them would be Cantlay.
Yeah.
I think some 20s. I think that's fair. But Hideki on 365, 27 to 1 enhanced. That one seems lovely.
There's one problem with Hideki. He's playing a lot of golf right now, and that never works out well for him.
Yeah, so can you run it back for me? What, like, obviously he played Sony, he played
Century,
he played
Sony
last week.
He's played Century, Sony, and Farmers. He's played 3 of the first 4 events, which is not that much golf, but for a guy who like historically withdraws from tournaments, and he played really poorly on the weekend at Torrey Pines. He gained like 6.4 strokes on approach. It was the North course that kind of tore him up the day that he got out of it when he
Yeah, but
he
that
played
was
on
the crazy wind day where it was the harder.
It was, but he was still there on the weekend. He just kind of went away and never really got himself into it. And it was T32. Listen, guys had bad weeks. He's already won so far this year in an elevated event. Maybe he is the guy that we should be looking at in terms of just value. Like why is Hideki 10 points behind Patrick Cantlay, and why am I looking at Patrick Cantlay? I think that's a very reasonable argument that you just made, and I don't know why I feel that way. It's just I like Cantlay. Cantlay always plays this course. He generally plays it really well.
Yeah, I shouted him out. I feel every time I bet him, I just feel dumb. Then I feel dumber by Friday or the weekend. You mentioned Tommy. I don't know. Like he feels. No. I was gonna say it just feels like he's lost something, Pat. Like last year he didn't even putt. Like I don't even know what's now. I feel like he's like a name and reputation more than actually like I want to trust to deliver. And that's me saying that, folks. That's me saying that. Pat didn't even think I was going to say that. That's where I was going here. Watch him win. It'd be awesome. But I just feel like he is, I don't know. I just feel like he is inferior to what the perceptions are. I'm not talking about like getting over the finish line. Like that's hard. But I just mean, I don't think it's as good as I don't think it's as good. I think the perception is better than what the reality is.
Cust is using Morikawa as his one.
Interesting.
I like Colin
Not
at this
bad.
course too. Listen, you gotta like Colin in California. I think he was 3rd after the first round a year ago. Just at 15 to 1 right now. I think it's actually a pretty decent wager. I think I would prefer Thomas or Cantlay if I was going up there though. I do like Justin Thomas this week. I could see going Thomas, Cantlay, Day, and then like 4 guys who were super long shots.
I really just had the feeling Thomas is going to do something early this year. He's been playing well. He didn't even have his good golf at last time, and he hung around.
Came second.
If I bet Justin, I'm literally just trying to like lead block for next week, or just protect my holding, because I do think he's getting something in the early stage of the season.
The putter hasn't been an abject failure so far this year, like it was all basically for the past 18 months. So if he has just rectified that problem, and I don't need him to go out and lead everyone in terms of putting. I just don't need him to be in the bottom 10 percentile of putting every single week. And the problem is going to be, you're going to see it a bunch of times this week. Riviera and Pebble, and we're not getting Riviera this time around. It's going to be at Torrey, so it's going to be just Pebble. Just the amount of short putts that are missed at this course are outrageous. They're just very they're the smallest greens on tour, and the closer you get to the hole, the harder they become. And people always forget that. They're like, oh, I can't believe this guy can't hit a 4-footer. But you forget that the putt's actually like this somehow. And it's like, oh, God, there's no way he was making that. So if he can actually make those this week, I think he's going to be pretty good.
I've got nothing negative to say there. I even like Cust's one and done pick.
And right now I'm seeing Thomas at a 17 and Cantlay at a 19. I'd rather take Thomas at 17 than Cantlay at 19.
I agree. Just to sort of get off track, like who is good that's playing next week?
I have no idea.
It's sandwiched.
I haven't seen a commitment list. Like, I don't know if Scottie's going to play. Spieth is really the only name that I saw for Waste Management. because they're all going to be playing again in a week's time at Torrey Pines. But then they're off if they want to be. Like, then it's Mexico, then it's Honda or Cognizant, and then it's Bay Hill. So you probably won't see many of these guys again. They could play the 3 weeks in a row and then take 3 weeks off till Bay Hill.
Like, I'm just loading it up. I guess, okay, yeah, I guess DraftKings. Oh no, they still have it. They still have it up. And they see, that's the thing. DraftKings has Waste Management, but they have every star in the field.
Yeah, and those guys aren't all playing. So when you bet on Scottie Scheffler to win that tournament, he doesn't play, you might get your bet refunded, but I very much doubt it.
And like I said, Thomas is 14 there now. I have a 25, but there are people a lot smarter than me that bet like a collection of guys that they were confident in playing who are going to be much shorter when they're some of the better players in the field once all the other guys get out. So I feel dumb for not actually over betting, for just betting Thomas and not over betting that field, because I bet you we're going to see some awesome futures. CLV, not that that matters, on the board next week. Who else? I don't know who else you want to talk about in front of this 50 to 1. I made one bet just past it, though.
How about this guy? He's 13 to 1. His name is Rory McIlroy.
I mean, he had his like C game and was right there a couple weeks ago. Obviously, at his comfort course. I shouldn't be like, I'm not dismissing it. I'm not dismissing it. I don't know that I could get there or want to get there. I'm not interested, but I could argue the price seems pretty fair and good. But good, more than fair, I'd say.
This is what Scottie is doing in this field, which I think is very interesting. So that's just sort of the point that I wanted to make on that. Anyone else from? I know who you bet just beyond this price range. You don't have to twist my arm to figure that one out.
I didn't.
Really?
People were messaging. I know who you think I bet. No, I had my winner. I did not make an early DraftKings bet under 50 to 1, and it's not Victor Hovland. It is not. I don't even know what to make of that. Why do I want to bet him to win a tournament?
You've made a really good point on Hideki. Maybe I need to reassess this, because like looking at it, like I do want to bet Cantlay, I do want to bet Thomas, but Hideki is just simply better than those guys right now. And this was always the point that we talked about with Ricky. It was in conjunction with Hideki, that Hideki was better than Ricky, yet whenever you looked at the odds for any tournament, Ricky would be ahead of him for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one we should definitely maybe circle back to. The 27 at 365 seems hella fair. He's very comfortable in California.
Okay.
No, I trust. If he's healthy, if he's teeing it up, I trust him. And the funny thing is, I guess he doesn't even go to Phoenix anymore.
No, he probably won't be there next week, no.
Yeah.
Well,
that sucks.
Well, let's go to this 50 to 100 range, because if you didn't bet Victor Hovland at 50 to 1, who did you bet?
Okay.
Clark?
Nope. I should have. That's who. Pardon?
McNeely?
Nope. I'm just trying to find something.
Harris English? Did you bet Bo Hostler?
Nope.
I have no
idea.
I
wish I got more. I thought I'd get a bigger number even today. And in fact, it was shorter in some places, but the 55s are still there. I bet Taylor Pendrith, Pat.
Okay. Explain.
I feel like he's been playing really, really great golf. I feel like, other than the putt, I feel like he can do this thing. I feel like his approach, like what works for him, I trust him. And he just hasn't putted well for the last few weeks. But I want to even say there's course history here to fall back on. But my fat thumb is making it a struggle.
He finished seventh here 2 years ago.
Yeah, I like Pendrith. I wish this number was more. I thought I'd be getting more. Obviously, there's some elite competition here. It would be a huge step up, and you might argue that's just not fair. You'll tell me there's a guy double the number who's just as likely. I'm in. I think this guy, I trust his ability to putt. He's a good putter, and I think he's a lovely course fit.
He tends to play these shorter courses a lot better than people give him credit for, because when they think Taylor Pendrith, they think guy who hits it like 320 off the tee, and he does do that. And he did finish top 10 last week and still couldn't putt. You're right. He's lost strokes in each of the first 3 tournaments, which is pretty atypical for him, someone who's generally pretty good on the greens. I do worry about the step up in competition for him in a tournament like this. That would be my one drawback, and like I'm not going to get there at that number, but I see it. There's guys like right around his number that I'm thinking about that I kind of have the same gut reaction to, like, oh, I think this guy can win. And then I'm just like, yeah, but Mad McNeely is one of them. I think this is a great Mad McNeely course. Of course, it's one of his 34 home courses because it costs $1 million to play. So he's like, yeah, whatever. Just throwing fun coupons out, getting onto the course. I think he's like local to the area. We've seen him play well on courses like this before, and he plays really well at courses that have small greens. And these are the courses with the smallest greens.
I bet him. Out of the last year it got elevated, but I bet him like I forever thought this is where he was going to win. In those years, Pebble became like a less prestigious field. I thought this was always the place he was going to bring it home.
But do I really want to say I'm betting Mad McNeely at 50-1 when I could bet Nick Dunlap for more than double the odds, who's a legitimate like potential superstar and has already won twice before 21?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Listen, I'm not like picking. It's that age-old like golf argument question. It's why golf is like just such a fun for like how toxic Twitter is in so many like aspects. I love like talking golf with people, even if we disagree. And golf is just so fascinating in that. Like I saw Kenny tweet. He mentioned about all the guys that hadn't like won in forever, and then the argument of like, you know, like quantifying like our players better, but like the fields they won. It's like you're not making fun of, but like you're calling out Morikawa for not winning. If he played the events that the players you're giving credit for winning played, he would have won like 4 of them. Do you know what I mean?
I
do. It's just like great, just open area debate that we can just go nonstop with in golf that I don't know, I always find engaging, and not to pick on Nick Dunlap, but like that would be like he's great. He's going to win.
But I'm not saying I want to bet Nick Dunlap. I'm just saying we're going to compare him to Mad McNeely, who just got his first win after like 10 years.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's also a guy who doesn't win these tournaments. So, but to put that into some perspective, like we saw the first few tournaments of this year, and even translated back to last year. All of a sudden, Russell Henley is 65-1. He was going off at like 28-1 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's when we have the puzzle pieces of doing this, and as everyone who's watching, betting this thing every week, we have the context of what the odds were. And listen, I know it's like a loser, and I'm not going back to it. But part of the reason I really loved Ludwig last week was when we did the show, there was the 13-1 on Bet365. He's 14-1 to win the Masters. Now, I'm not saying that's fair, but like in having the information, I thought like, okay, well, like this actually seems like a very fair and good bet relative to the field and how I thought the course fit. Worked for him. Now, that I enjoyed a day and a half of it, but that is that. As for Mav, like, I don't know. He's just I feel like this place is perfect for him. I don't know if I can trust him to win, but I'm the guy that just bet Taylor Pendrith, who like if he's contending against those big boys, I will have no confidence. But I bet him to win for some reason.
But as my article will point out once it is published after the recording of the show, you can find it free in the Mayo Media newsletter, and you can respond to me if you have a venue in Toronto, or if you're going to come, the more names I can get on a list that I can count on being there, the bigger the venue I can get and the cooler the experience I can make. But I'll also release the article on Twitter as well, now that I have my account back. Can't wait to talk about that with Cust on the award show this week. But am I crazy for just looking through Wyndham Clark at 50-1, who won this tournament last year?
A bit, maybe. I mean, that's who I just wasn't ready to make a bet on Saturday when the odds were up, at least that early. And there were those Wyndhams 65s, and I saw so many people like made a lot of sense, but I didn't run to bet it, and now I kind of wish I did.
There's the point I wanted to make about the article, which you will find in there, I didn't make the point that I was going to make. For ages, you have seen at this tournament, Wyndham Clark and Tom Hoge, 2 of the past 3 years, were a bit of an outlier in this sense. Hoge won at 60-1. Wyndham Clark won at 60-1 last year, albeit in 3 rounds. And then you take a look at some of the other names around him who more or less fit this mold. But other than that, you had Rose and Berger and Phil and Spieth. So 4 of the past 10 years, and they were all 30-1 and below. I remember you hit Berger. Everyone kind of hit Berger that week because everyone withdrew after everyone had bet Berger. Do you remember that? Like Dustin pulled out, Cantlay pulled out, or whoever it was. Or it was just like Berger and Cantlay. They were the only 2 guys who were left. Other than that, you had like Nick Taylor, Ted Potter, Vaughn Taylor, just like absolute bombs. Because this course, a lot like the American Express in a big way. Now, this isn't the 3-course rotation. It's only 2. You get more at Pebble. But this is really just a putting contest when it comes down to it.
Yes. But last year, the elevated group got here, and it was to like Ludwig and Wyndham at the very top when it had to be settled.
And what happened? Wyndham Clark shot a 60 on Saturday and made, 400 feet of putts?
Okay, yeah. Fair counter.
Like, the guy made every putt from everywhere.
No, you're right. I mean, there's context to it. But it's like we know what Pebble can be, and it can be sort of neutralize those guys. And you see what was at the top of last year's board, and you're like, oh, those guys full send.
So everyone who was 4 shots of the lead last year, taking a look at it, Wyndham Clark wins at -17. Ludwig is 1 back at -16. Pavon is -15. Dietrich is 14. Hubbard is 14. Hoge is 13. Thomas, Day, Scheffler are there as well. So you had your mix of the guys who were at the very top of the odds, and then your Pavon, Dietrich, and Hubbards who were all from the back end. And friggin' your boy, colored ball, bucket hat, Malnati, plays well. Even last year he finished inside the top 15 at Pebble Beach.
So I'm having this like internal fight in my head. If I want to just build like a card collected of a lot of it, like literally just like pound so much, like 50 and above. I'm like, it's elevated. Like I gotta just play with good players. And if I get burned in elevated, then maybe I get burned. But I gotta just go. I think I gotta step in. I've got my Penrith bet. I think I'm just gonna make 2 bets in front of it because that's how I'm thinking.
Well, I was thinking Thomas, Day, and Cantlay. Maybe that's Thomas, Matsuyama, and Day. Day is the only one that I'm actually made so far from that top. And then when I'm into this area, there was only a few other names I really wanted to talk about. I haven't bet him, but like I was looking, I mean, I lose money on Hoge every week. Maybe I should stop doing that. Although this has been a great Hoge course over the year. He's 85-1. Harry Hall got himself in to the tournament. He was initially out, but after Mitchell qualified, he got the last sponsors exemption now. He's 90-1. This is a great course for him. Spawn is playing great golf. He's 90-1. But it might just be like Akshay or Rasmus Højgaard, who are both 80-1. Like those guys could win.
Akshay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just like pot committed to Akshay now. I think he's going to take
I don't mind that
one of these big ones.
I don't mind it. I know you wanted to mock me for doing it, and I didn't. But let's just quickly break it down.
Akshay Boston Common parlay?
No, no. I was gonna say because I just opened up Hovland, but all it has is the Century, where it just looks ugly. I know he played in the Middle East, and I saw an interview with him, and it was just like he is just still all over the place. So I have no confidence that anything is being resolved there at the moment.
Yeah, Victor missed the cut in the tournament that Hatton won in Dubai 2 weeks ago. Of note, Victor Hovland won the U.S. Amateur at Pebble Beach and Spyglass in 2018.
I should have taken the interview I saw pre-tournament, him in that Dubai. And that my betting brain should have correlated that to the miscut because that's what it sounded like was about to happen. So I don't know that we're gonna. He's obviously gonna pop. Like last year, right? He flashed. Was it the PGA or something?
Yeah.
The Master. No,
Masters was Morikawa and Homa.
Yeah, he like flashed, and then there'll be a flash because he's too good to not like flash in a moment. But this thing is so far from being resolved. Leave it at that.
If you want to look at some guys from the like very low end of this field, I would take a look at Bermuda. Bermuda, guys, it doesn't like directly correlate, obviously. Pendrith has played well there too over the past, but I just think it's a very similar setup. It's coastal, small greens, a lot of wedges, putting contest. And because this is still technically a pro-am, for the first 2 rounds, you're not going to get a lot of the big rough at Pebble Beach. So don't think that you can't miss fairways, because you can. I got 3 bets.
Definitely can.
I got 3 bets in over 100 to 1. I got you to make 2 of them for me.
I know 2 of them.
I got you to make 2 of them for me.
Yeah.
But I also bet Siwoo at 100 to 1. And then I bet, what was it? Nico at 171 and Hubbard at 190 to 1, or I have those backwards. Hubbard at 170, Nico at 190. I think that's what they are. But you ended up texting me. And those numbers have been slashed pretty big.
140,
already.
190.
Yeah. I like those 2 guys. Like Nico's playing good golf, man.
Am I supposed to be looking at like the Aaron Rise or Harry Hulls?
Harry Hall, I could see. I mean, Ryman, listen, you can make a very compelling. Like Nick Taylor has won this event too, and he's still just randomly 80 to 1. Poston could win this event. He hits his wedges and he makes his putts. Like there's a lot of cases that you can make. I'd rather take that similar level of player and just double the odds on them. And
There's no one I want to bet from.
And Siwoo's back to the point now where his odds are like kind of silly. So that's the perfect time to bet Siwoo.
What were Rasmus's odds? Do you remember what they were on that early sheet that was put out?
I don't know, but he was like 22 to 1 to win in Dubai 2 weeks ago, and now he's 80 to 1 here.
Yeah, that might be one I could join you with potentially.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to get it. The only 2 that are officially, or the only 3 from 100 to 1 that are officially in, Siwoo, Hubbard, and Nico, and I might even make the placement bet on them as well, because the bet I got you to make for me is just win only. I would probably want some places on that. The other one I'd look at is Lauer. Lauer's played Bermuda pretty well, and he's like at the very back end of this field. 225 to 1. Like if this is a wind-induced wedge and putting competition, that's what he does well.
That's very much it. It's I guess Matt's Fitzpatrick. It's just sad to see him these names.
Yeah, just sometimes you have to get like you can play it one of 2 ways. You can either say, "Man, I remember this guy when he won a U.S. Open 3 years ago, and he's just not that guy anymore," or dude's in a slump, and we know what his talent is, and I'm getting a great number on him.
Yeah, and in the outright betting, like if you're not playing with placings, that miscut means the same as your like great call who finishes 4th place. It's got to be worth noting. I'm not betting it, but I'm seeing 100 to 1 on. It's actually probably more because this would include placings. So the enhanced probably be 110 or 120 or something.
Is Aiden out?
Spieth on Rivers is 100.
Okay, I mean that's more of a fair odd that would somewhat entice me. I'm not betting it, but
I'm just saying, like in discrepancy wise, I'm seeing literally a 55.
yeah, no, I think that people will bet the 55 because it's Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, good for the books. Good for the books.
Yeah, Lauer you can play 160 with 8 places. I might do that. Novak is another one who had a nice run in Bermuda too, coming off a pretty good week. Like those are sometimes the guys to target. This is such a big step up in competition for Novak, and it would be for Lauer as well, but he's like way more down the board. But Novak had a pretty good week, man. Paul's guy, Novak Nation.
Yeah. We didn't talk about him, but like so much last couple weeks. Obviously, the field has changed, but like so much love for Gracerman. Like if you believe in the ceiling, you're just afraid of the competition. 60 to 1 is the biggest I see. Yeah,
I think I'd rather bet Akshay just because I think Akshay is better, but I completely understand that. I ended up betting Gracerman last week after the Zalatoris WD just to grab someone else. I probably should have just left the money in the account, but turned out all right throughout the course of the week. Should have looked at your card and bet English instead.
Listen, here, Mr. Reliable. White dudes for Harris. I saw that hashtag going around the golf Twitter and made me laugh.
So quick picks for the Pebble Beach AT&T Pro-Am. Jason Day, 35-1. Mark Hubbard, 170-1. Nico Echeverria, 190-1. See, Kim, 100-1. And I'm going to give some strong consideration to JT and Hideki at the top, and then maybe Lauer at like 225 with 5 places, or 160 with 8 places, whatever it might be at the back end of this field, and then maybe Akshay at 80. I have to figure out how I divvy up my card.
So we're similar at the top potentially, but the only bet I have in is the Pendrith at 55. Honestly, shocked it wasn't bigger. Maybe I should have waited because it's not going to get under 50. So maybe I should have sacrificed waiting to lose 5 points to potentially gain 10. Whatever. At the top, sort of like Pat said, Hideki, it just seems too fair. Too fair. The 27 that I'm staring at, and Justin to try to protect my bet for next week. So, which sounds stupid. But I'm really confident.
It is.
I'm just really confident he is going to get something done early. There's a golfer I forgot to mention. I want to get out of here like you do. I'm sure you're probably busier than mine, although I got to go downtown and see Pizzola. Tom Kim. I just opened up his grid. He's running red lights.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Because he'd be the sort of guy.
Yeah, you'd think so. And watch him do it. But he would be a guy a lot like Siwoo in a weird way, that you just bet that when he hits his ceiling and makes his putts that he's deadly. He doesn't normally do it. And you look stupid.
It's been an extended struggle though, like on the timeline.
Yes and no. Like he's picked up some nice results at like goober events that don't count. Like he was second at the Hero to Scheffler.
Okay, sure.
I
don't
won.
See that.
And he was second in the Genesis Championship in Korea, towards the end of last year. But in like real tournaments, no, he's been terrible.
Yeah, just gone. Okay, that was fun.
It was one and done picks for the week. I am taking Jason Day. Cust is taking Colin Morikawa, and you, sir, are taking who?
I'm gonna take Maverick McNeely.
Really, you're using Mav in an elevated event, huh?
Yeah, I'm just I'm getting crazy.
All right.
And then I'm going to come down the home stretch this year just firing superstars. So we'll see.
Okay, well, Cust is currently in the lead. Keegan was the best for him last week amongst the three of us. I had to switch to Thigala at the last second after the Zalatoris WD, which was looking fine until Saturday. He ended up coming like dead last or something. He won like $22,000. So it was like basically, I've wasted Tom Kim, I've wasted Sahith Thigala, and now I'm going to try to waste Jason Day at this tournament for myself. But I will be back on Wednesday with Tambo for the final bets, the weather, breaking down the entire DraftKings slate and any WDs that might happen. Up until then, all the new information that we gain, plus the weather report on the Pat Mayo Experience. In between, I got a prop show for NFL, early look at props coming out later on Monday, early Tuesday. And then me, you, and Cust are doing the NFL awards this week too.
Yes, NFL awards. Looking forward to chatting with Cust. Football season's over, folks. Football season's over.
And then
we'll have to do that.
That live show that I talked about looking like June 7th. It was originally going to be the week after, but that was Father's Day. I was like, that's probably a bad idea to hold a live event during Father's Day when my wife would yell at me for not being around for Father's Day. As my kids would be like, where's Daddy? Not a good scene. Not a good scene at all for Father's Day. Be like, no, I'm going to go do my live podcast. So the week before in Toronto, if you know a venue, you get at me, and we can try to make something work, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!